Hey everyone, Caleb with Antique Book Collective, and today I'm answering a question: does foxing spread from one book to another? Guys, that is a question I have seen asked quite a few times, and at the end of the day, it actually depends, believe it or not. So guys, as I'm sure you all know, paper is an absorbent thing. If you guys have ever used a paper towel, you know that paper can absorb things. In addition to that, I'm sure you guys, if you have sold antique books, you've seen paper that is like halfway in the book, and it's serving as a bookmark, and like the piece of paper that's inside the book is like white as everything, but the part that was hanging out is like yellowed, all sorts of yellowed, and it's ugly and it's unsightly, and you end up throwing it away because usually bookmarks that people use don't have any value as it is. But guys, going off of that, I think we all understand that paper can be quite absorbent, and as such, foxing actually can spread from one book to another in some cases. So guys, some foxing that you'll come across is caused by just copper or iron or other metals getting on the paper itself, or it's in the paper itself from when the paper was made, and that oxidizes with age, and as it oxidizes it releases certain colors and it changes colors, and those colors that you'll get will range anything from like yellow, orange, and other times it'll be brown and black and all those sorts of things. I've yet to come across any oxidation or foxing in books that's like blue or green or something like that, but I'm sure it's possible. I'd be frightened to see it because I would think that I was stumbling across something that would create a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or something like that, but it is something that you guys can definitely come across. So guys, here I've shown you guys this book a couple times now. Just hop into a random page because all these pages are basically foxed, but as you guys can see here, this book has some foxing in it. And the foxing in this book is not likely to spread because, again, guys, that foxing in this book is most likely caused by just impurities during the printing process itself. It's nothing that I am personally alarmed about. However, there is some foxing that I come across in books that is actually caused by excessive moisture in the air that they were stored in, and as such, that excessive moisture actually caused some mildew, mold and mildew, to actually get attached to the book, to colonize the book is what you call it, like mold colonies, so they colonize things. So guys, I actually have that happen to a lot of books where you get some mildew spotting on the books. And guys, if you store your books in proper conditions, that mildew it can definitely spread, but it is much, much less likely to spread. So guys, if you want to learn how to properly store your books, please be sure, I'm going to link to a video at the bottom of this video at the very end. Be sure to check that one out, guys. It's highly recommended that you store your books properly to prevent or at least reduce the risk of mold, mildew, and a whole host of other bad things that can happen to your books. But guys, the mold and mildew side of things for foxing actually can spread from one book to another. Again, if you store your books properly, it is a lot less likely to happen, but there's no guarantees that someone's going to store your books properly into perpetuity, and as such, that mold and mildew can actually spread. Guys, I've come across books, shelves of books, guys, that have mold on one book that spread to another, spread to another, and you can actually, on some of these shelves, guys, you can see which one started, which one was the originator of the sin, of this one was moldy, and you can tell the next one over is less moldy, the further and further off you get, and eventually you get to the point that it's not quite moldy, but you don't want to touch that book, because even though you can't see the mold on some of these books, if it's right next to a moldy book, that mold has permeated the other book that might not appear to be bad, but it still can definitely have it. And there are things that you guys can do to get rid of mold on books. It's not guaranteed to last forever, but it can definitely extend the lifetime of your books. I do have videos on that in this channel, so be sure to check it out. But guys, that is something to keep in mind. Foxing can potentially spread, however, is very unlikely to spread if you guys store your books properly. And again, a lot of the foxing that people come across and refer to when they talk about foxing is usually the oxidation of different metals that get into the book itself during the printing process. And guys, with that said, a lot of these books that I come across that have foxing on them, I'm deciding which one I want to show you guys. I don't know which one for sure though, but a lot of these books, guys, that you come across that have the foxing from the metals, the foxing will spread from, like, if it's on one page, you'll get like the mirror image of that on the other page just because of the fact that it is touching, so the same oxidation is touching both sides. So that can spread from one page to the other, but is not likely to leap from, say, this book onto this book through the cover. That is very, very unlikely to happen. So it is not something that you guys should necessarily be screaming about, crying about, that sort of thing. However, again, there are chances that it can, and it does spread. I have seen quite a few books, guys, where there is like an entire shelf of books that was stored in a more humid area where every single book on that shelf has the mildew foxing on it. So guys, that is something to keep in mind. That is something I've seen in my own experience. That's something I've seen in photos of everyone else that sells books. books. So it is something that can definitely happen. Again, though, guys, if you have foxing that is more the traditional sense of foxing, which is caused by oxidation of different metals from the paper or the inks involved, that's a lot less likely to spread. And it's something that I am personally, when I'm collecting books and selling books, that kind of foxing I'm a lot less worried about, because I'm like, okay, this foxing is not about to spread to any books, but the mildew one, guys, again, is the one you should be worried about. There are people who are like, oh, you can't tell the difference of mold and mildew and normal, like oxidation foxing, and indeed that definitely can be the truth. However, you can definitely ascertain roughly what you're dealing with depending on where you get your books. If you're buying it from an online source, it's a little harder to ascertain, but again, as I've mentioned in other videos, I have bought books from more humid areas and from drier areas. The ones that are drier, obviously, I'm not too worried about mold. However, ones like where this book came from that come from a more humid area, you could tell, yeah, this is a more mildewy sort of side of things than the other ones that I've dealt with. So with that said and done, though, guys, I hope this was helpful. Again, if it was helpful, please be sure to check out that video on how to properly store books. Guys, I come across so many books that are improperly stored, and it actually damages the book's value and it damages the book itself. So be sure to check that video out, and if you've already seen that one, maybe you should watch it again, but if you've already seen that one and don't want to see it again, you can check out the rest of this playlist on all about foxing. With that said and done, see you in the next one.